do 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 do. I'm eating apple pie. It tastes alright. It tastes alright. I wish I had pumpkin pie. I wish I had pumpkin pie. Except I have apple, so I guess I'll work with what I have. I have whipped cream in my hand. Who put whipped cream in my hand? Hello everyone, my name's Stonesy Boy. Welcome back to Read with Stone. The basically only thing this channel has anymore. Which is okay, because I like it that way. Today we are reading another episode of Back to the Pretty Tales of the Pizza Plex number 2, Happs. We're still on Help Wanted. I don't remember what happened. Even though I read it yesterday, I still don't remember. But yeah, without further ado, let's begin. The walls, he noticed, were covered in photos of children, from babyhood until now. Steve was even more in some of the pictures of them. Today was Saturday. On Saturday, Mommy always makes pancakes, the little girl said as she lecturing him. Okay, sounds good, Steve said, standing up. Lead the way. The little girl took one of his hands, and the little boy took the other. It was sweet, unfamiliar feeling, those tiny hands gripping his. Victoria was in the kitchen, looking beautiful even in her pink bathrobe, with no makeup on her hair unstyled. She was standing over a skillet, expertly flipping pancakes. All hail the pancake queen, Steve said, kissing her on the cheek. Pancake wench is more like it, she said, laughing. I always forget the long process this is until I'm actually doing it. Well, we appreciate it, don't we, kids? Steve said. I guess he could call them kids until he got no clue about what their names were. Thank you, Mommy, the kids said, hugging her. You're very welcome, she said. Now, Abigail and Avery, if you take your seats at the table, I'll have your pancakes ready in a minute. She turned to Steve. And, honey, the coffee's ready if you'd like to get some. Sure, Steve said, though his head was repeating Abigail and Avery. He didn't know what the coffee cups were, and he opened the wrong cabinet first and got it right on the second try. He poured them each a cup. Victoria said, just a splash of milk in mine, remember? He didn't remember, and he said, of course, and got the milk out of the fridge. It was a happy breakfast. The pancakes themselves were terrific, and the bacon was crispy the way he liked it. But the best part was sitting around the table as a family, the kids talking and laughing, and Victoria sharing private smiles. This is what he had always wanted. Did it matter that he didn't remember who he got it? Maybe it didn't. People were always saying to live in the moment, and that's what Steve was doing. You couldn't get hung up on your past if you couldn't remember it. So, are you still planning on fixing the leaky faucet in the bathroom today? Victoria asked. Steve didn't remember what was the plan, but he had learned about plumbing from his dad, so he was happy to comply. I'll certainly give it a shot, he said. A few minutes later, when Steve came back into the living room after fixing the faucet, Victoria was sitting on the couch in the living room, looking distressed. We need to talk, she said. Memory problems aside, Steve still knew that it was a particular sentence he never meant good news. Okay, he said, sitting down beside her. She picked up an envelope on the coffee table. This was in the mail today. She handed it to him. He took out the letter and read the words, Notice of foreclosure. Wait, what? Oh, is our house being foreclosed on? Apparently so, Victoria said. We've been underwater financially for a while. I really wanted to stay at home with the kids until they started kindergarten, but if I have to, I guess I'll go back to work. Let's not be hasty, Steve said. He was going to feel like an idiot saying he was going to say next, but he had to ask the question, do I have a job? Sure, Victoria said. You work at the gas up. Oh, he said. Guess he had forgotten how to clean toilets. But even with you and working overtime, the pay here doesn't keep up with the cost of living, especially since the kids came along, Victoria said. Well, I'm going to have to find a better paying job then. Victoria gave him a brave smile. It'd be wonderful if you could. Here comes the tickle monster, Steve reached out his arms and wiggled his fingers. Abigail and Avery ran through the living room, giggling. Chase me, Daddy, chase me, Avery yelled. He couldn't get over the small burst of happiness he felt every time one of the kids called him Daddy. He heard it before he saw it. It was how it was going a long gravel driveway. If someone was approaching, you always heard the sound of the wheels on the gravel a few seconds before you saw the car. He saw, looking out the window, in case the car was shiny, black, and expensive looking. Unless he had forgotten, which was extremely likely given his memory problems, that he wasn't expecting anyone. He wondered if it might be someone who wanted to talk to him about the foreclosure, who might want him to sign some paper making the loss of his family's home official. Steve braced himself for the worst. Kids, he said, you should get washed up. Dinner's soon. Your mom's making spaghetti and meatballs. Pescetti and meatballs, Abigail saying, taking her brother by the hands. I like meatballs, Avery said. They hurried off and washed their hands, leaving Steve to his fate. Steve stepped out onto the porch. The black car came to a stop. A moment later, a man stepped out of it. It was strange. Steve had forgotten so much, and yet he still remembered the man. The styled hair, the perfect suit. Steve remembered how exactly it was said on his fancy business card. Brooke Edwards, Talent Exposition, Fazbear Entertainment. The man smiled as he approached. His teeth were dazzling. Mr. Snodgrass, he said. We've met before. Brock Edwards, Fazbear Entertainment, Steve said, holding out his hand for a shake. You have a good memory, Mr. Edwards said, taking Steve's offered hand. For some time, Steve said. Would you like to sit on the porch? We can go inside, but I have a 4-year-old and a 2-year-old that I can't guarantee you're much quiet. The porch is perfect, Mr. Edwards said. Once they were settled on the porch, 2 rocking chairs, Steve asked, Can I get you anything to drink? Iced tea? Lemonade? No, thank you, Mr. Edwards said. Steve, since our memory is so good, I didn't remember the offer I made you last time we met. Strangely, Steve could remember every detail. The horror games based on the myths surrounding Fazbear Entertainment, FaceTime closure. The idea of games didn't seem quite so objectionable. I do, he said. Mr. Edwards nodded. Well, we here at Fazbear Entertainment want you to know that the offer still stands. Can I stay here with the family to work on them? You remember the last time the offer involved relocating to this closed area? Yes, Mr. Edwards said. We want you to work wherever or however makes you most comfortable. Steve's face broke out in a grin. The house was saved. He didn't hesitate. I'll take it, he said. That night, Victoria laid her head on his shoulder. I can't believe you saved us, she said. Fazbear Entertainment saved us, Steve said, though he'd admit her words made him feel good. Well, but if you didn't have the talent and skills Fazbear Entertainment wanted, then we wouldn't have been saved. Therefore, you saved us. She planted a kiss on his cheek. You're my hero. Aw, shucks, Steve said. I admit, he did feel pleased with himself. They held each other close, and Steve fell into a deep sleep. It was coming from the living room, a stomping, rumbling sound. A robber? Their house was so far in the country, Steve was shocked that someone could find it to rob. He got out of the bed and put his phone in his pocket and robe, prepared to call the police. But wait, when did he last use his phone? All he could remember was the last time he tried. It hadn't worked at all. He was going to have to take matters in his own hands. He was scared. He had to protect his family. He grabbed a softball bat and it was a closet and marched into the living room, as though confident instead of terrified. Abigail was standing at the front coffee table and bumping into it repeatedly. Her eyes were blank and staring seemingly at nothing. Sweetie, are you okay? Steve asked, trying not to sound panicked. Steve turned her face to him and smiled. Oh, hi, Daddy. Sweetheart, it's the middle of the night. You should be back to bed. Okay, Daddy. She shuffled down in the hall and disappeared into her room. The door in Avery's room was slightly ajar, which was a natural state of all interior doors in the house. For some reason, none of them would fully close, let alone lock. Just to make sure the son is okay, Steve peeked into his room. Avery was asleep, safe and sound, sprawled out on one foot dangling over the side of the bed like always. Steve was relieved that there was no intruder, but he was also worried and confused. He propped the softball bat against the wall and climbed back into bed. What are you doing? In his anxious state, his wife's voice made him nearly jump out of his skin. He took a deep breath, tried to calm down. Didn't you hear the noise in the living room? No, I didn't hear anything, Victoria said. And you know what? I'm a light sleeper, I am. If there had been a noise, I definitely would have heard it. Maybe you were dreaming. No, it was real. When I went to the living room, Abigail was standing there. She looked blankly and weird and bumping into the furniture. Victoria gave him a patient smile. Sweetheart, do you remember the children sleepwalk sometimes? They get it from you. You'll be dreaming wild stuff, saying absurd things, and wandering all over the house. I even caught you wandering around the yard one night. With you, it's sleepwalking or night terrors. Unfortunately, the kids just seem to have gotten the sleepwalking part. No, Steve said. I don't remember any of that. It was so upsetting they wouldn't be able to piece the recent past together. He did not even remember basic facts about himself and his kids. Well, now you know there's no need to worry. Victoria smiled and patted an empty spot behind it. Come back to bed. Steve couldn't sleep. He always had the same sensation of someone or something inside the house wishing to do him and his family harm, and always Victoria comforted him, reminding him of his history of sleepwalking and night terrors. Often Steve marveled at the amazing wife she was, always so kind and patient and caring. He figured it would be easy to marry to someone like him who was such a mess all the time. Mess or not, he was really pouring himself into making the first Fazbear Entertainment game. Since the company agreed to let Steve work at home, he had to turn the house's tiny attic into his office. He called the daily climbing of the ladder his commute to work. It was nice to hear Victoria and the children talking and playing beneath him when he was working, and now at lunchtime all he had to do was climb down the ladder and join them. It was still haunted by the nighttime visions and fears, but during the day he channeled those feelings into a game of creating. Those feelings of being unsafe all ended up on the screen in front of him. If Fazbear Entertainment wanted a scary game, the scary game was what they're going to have. Then Steve climbed down the ladder for lunch. I got so surprised that they were having a picnic. A voice on the radio that Victoria kept during the day. Heavy thunder showers expected over the light 24 hours. Take shelter if possible, folks. Lightning is dangerous. I don't sound like a picnic weather, Steve said. Victoria, who was carrying a pitcher of lemonade, laughed. I thought we'd have a picnic indoors, like our first date. The picnic was nice. Victoria spread a blanket on the floor, and they ate chicken and sandwiches and grapes and drank lemonade. After they ate, Abigail said, Daddy, let's play hide and seek. Hide, seek, Avery yelled. Steve knew he wanted to play with them for a while. He might tire them out so they'd take a nap and give their mom a break. Sure, he said. I can play a few rounds before I have to get back to work. The kids jumped up and down in the frenzy and delight. Steve filled his heart filled with love. They were adorable, amazing kids. He wished he would remember every minute he had spent with them. Steve covered his eyes and started counting aloud, very slowly. 1, 2, 3. Then he reached 20. He opened his eyes and began his search. Abigail was old enough to be a pretty good hider, but Avery would always found her in plain sight. Right now he was hiding behind a floor lamp. Steve, like always, looked around even though he couldn't see his son. When finally he moved closer to the lamp. "Where's Avery? Where's Avery?" Steve asked loudly and theatrically. He called to Victoria. "Sweetheart, have you seen Avery?" "No, honey, I have no idea where he could be," he called back. Victoria knew her part of the game well. "I sure do wish I could find him," Steve said. Behind the floor lamp, Avery giggled. Steve kept up the ruse of not being able to find Avery until Avery's giggling grew more and more out of control. He finally jumped up and said, "Daddy, I'm here." Steve put his hand on his chest and bumped backwards as if startled. "There you are. You got me. You're such a good hider." "I got you," Avery said until overcome with hilarity. "Now I just need to find your sister," Steve said. He wandered around the house and didn't see her anywhere. He felt a prickle of anxiety. He knew she was nearby and safe, just playing, but something about her invisibility triggered a primal parental fear. He thought of parents whose children go missing for real, who spend months of years trying to find them. He thought of missing persons reports and kids' faces on milk cartons. He finally wanted to find Abigail very badly, to see her beautiful little face. The bedroom closet. She had hidden there before. He went into the bedroom and hesitated before opening the closet door. Something inside him didn't want to open it. Maybe it was because of him thinking of the night terrors of the sound of the house. He investigated with a feeling of dread, not wanting to know what was causing them, but needing to know. Boo! The closet door swung open and Abigail jumped out. Steve cried out a reel and jumped backward. His heart pounded on his chest. "Wow, you really got me," he said once he recovered enough to talk. "Silly, Daddy, it was just me," Abigail said. "Did you think I was a ghost?" "Yeah, I kind of did," Steve said. "You're right, Daddy. It is very, very silly." Even in the daylight, even playing with kids and the fear creeping in, he was afraid of noises, sudden movements, even if it was a little girl jumping out of him. He went inside, climbed the ladder, and started back onto the game. It was very easy for Steve to create jump scares because he had been on the receiving end of them himself. He knew the startling feeling, the cry of shock, the accelerated heartbeat, and when he watched with relief and you would realize that the game was totally safe. Well, he knew all those things except the relief lately. He never felt like he was safe. Steve sat in front of the TV, staring at a late-night talk show without really watching it. Victoria stood in the doorway of the bathroom in pajamas. "Honey, are you coming to bed?" "Sure," Steve said, raising the remote click off the TV. "I thought I might maybe watch some warm milk first, though. You know, to try to relax." "You definitely need to relax," Victoria said. "Have some milk, and then maybe I'll give you a shoulder massage." "That'd be nice," Steve said absently, procrastinating going to bed and becoming a habit with him. It made sense, really. The less time he spent sleeping, the fewer nightmares he had. He drank his warm milk and let Victoria knee his shoulders. Though both these things seemed relaxing at the time it was doing to him, it had soon to be his head hit the pillow. His body felt like a big ball of tension. It was worse than that. It was terror. He lay there, his eyes wide open, fighting sleep. Then he heard it, the whirring, the rumbling, and the inside of walls. And this isn't a nightmare because he knew he had never fallen asleep. Whatever it was that was after him inside of the walls, scurrying, scratching, looking for a way out. He felt a sudden need to flee in the bedroom. But when he stood in the doorway, he heard some rustling and rattling coming from the living room, and they were there, too. He backed up and tried to close the bedroom door, but it was useless. There was no way to lock yourself in and keep intruders out. No one was safe. Steve and his family were sitting ducks, all of them. A loud bump came from all the bedroom wall on Steve's left. He heard the look at it. The surface of the wall began to pulse and throb, forming a large bubble. On the surface reminded Steve of the way cheese bubbles up on pizza. Then, with a wet splat, the bubble popped like a zit, and an oily black substance spattered across the room. Steve needed to get out of here. He needed to get Victoria out of there. Now he would be sleeping through this. She ran over to the side of the bed and shook her awake. "Victoria, wake up. What is it? Are the kids okay?" Victoria sat up, rubbing her eyes. Unable to find the words, Steve pointing at the wall, which now had a gaping hole out of which black slime moved. "What?" Victoria said. "Why do you want me to look at the wall?" "Don't you see it?" Steve said. The black slime was dripping from the hole onto the floor. Victoria took his hand. "Honey, you're having a nightmare. Lie back down." "I'm not having a nightmare because I'm not asleep." Steve yelled. He had never raised his voice at his wife or kids, but he was freaking out. "I know, it feels that way because you're walking and talking," Victoria said. "But if you'll lie down and close your eyes, it will go away." Desperate to escape this terror, Steve let himself be coaxed into lying back down. He closed his eyes, feeling how tired he was, how his body longed for rest, but the noise of the walls didn't stop, and there would be no sleep for him tonight. "This is DJ Dan, the music man," the voice on the radio said. "We have got a heavy snow coming in right now. No time to go out and buy milk and bread. Just stay home and stay safe." Abigail looked out the window and announced, "He's right, it's snowing." By morning, the yard and surrounding woods were covered in a heavy blanket of snow. The grass and trees looked like they'd been covered in a thick layer of white cake frosting. At first, it was fun. They played board games, made popcorn, drank hot chocolate. It felt very cozy. The trouble was the snow didn't stop. It kept falling, wet and heavy, and the temperature plummeted so it was too frigid for anyone to stay outside for long. Beneath the snow, the roads were a solid sheet of ice. As a result, they were trapped in the house, which was the last place Steve wanted to be, because they were there. They were always there, even though they were heard them at night. Sometimes, although they never saved Victoria because she knew a delusion had sounded, it felt like they made the snow happen because it put Steve there in the house, right where they wanted him. The ringing was getting worse too. The high-pitched sound was always in his head, day and night. Just like their house, he couldn't escape it. It was 5 of the blizzard and the snowfall was still heavy. Steve, Victoria, and the kids were sitting around the dinner table eating macaroni and cheese and canned green beans. Victoria just tried to jazz up with salt, butter, and dill. I know his meal isn't up to my usual standards of cooking, Victoria said, but I'm having to dig through the pantry of food since we can't go out to the grocery store. I could eat mac and cheese every day, Abigail said. One of the 2 kids, he was a pickier eater. I'm sure you could, Victoria said, but I bet your daddy would rather have a steak and some salad. Actually, I'm kind of digging the mac and cheese, he said. It was comfort food. He certainly needed comfort, more than mere food could provide. Say, when was the last time you checked the weather? Not since this morning, Victoria said, unless you count looking out the window. Just what we needed, the DJ said with his fake chipper voice. Had somebody turn on the radio? More snow. The National Weather Service is calling for at least 3 more inches tomorrow and a high 15 degrees. It's going to be up at your eyeballs, people. This is DJ Dan, the music man. Stay home and stay safe. Victoria got up and switched off the radio. You know, I've lived in the area all my life. I've never seen snow like this, she said. And when I was back when she was in school, they went to the whole winters without having snow days. I know, it's like we're in the North Pole, Victoria said. And there's Santa, Abigail said. Victoria laughed. That's an excellent question. If we're stuck home in a house, we deserve presents, Christmas in February. Abigail's innocent question made Steve want to cry. Where was Santa indeed? Santa was a symbol of hope, and Steve had lost all his hope. Haunted, hunted, trapped, and not only trapped, but trapped in a dangerous place. Victoria and the kids seemed to think they were safe in the house, but Steve knew better. He stood up at the table. I think I'm going to work for a couple of hours. Are you sure? Victoria said. You've been working all day, and I promised the kids we'd watch a movie together. You guys go ahead and get the movie started. I'll be done in a little bit. Steve knew he was too distracted, too much of a mess to focus on the movie. Right now, the only thing he seemed to focus on was his work, and he already completed the first game. So when he won down, once he submitted all 4 games, he'd get the big payout from Fazbear Entertainment. The financial worries would be over, and they would move somewhere else, somewhere safe, and they would be happy together. Nightmare fuel. They had heard the phrase used to describe a variety of scary images, creepy clowns, and dolls, especially when Steve was moving and using his nightmares as fuel for the power of his games. The strange noises and sights, the ongoing feeling of being watched, and the track that he poured all into the game. And somehow he was working. He almost convinced himself that he had control of forces that terrified him at night. Almost, but not quite. He knew he was spinning out of control, and sometimes he was afraid that if he spun far out, he would never find his way back again. Steve fell into the game and lost track of time. Once he climbed down the ladder, the house was silent. Victoria and the kids were all in bed. Steve decided a hot shower might soothe him, put him in a position to get some sleep. He struggled to remember the last time he had gotten some real night of sleep. Steve regarded himself in the bathroom mirror. He looked awful. His face was grayish and stubbly. His eyes were bloodshot, and his dark pouch was beneath them. But what scared him most was the signs of exhaustion, that wildness in his eyes, as if he were a trapped animal. Who was he kidding? He was a trapped animal. As he took off his shirt, he felt a small pain in his right forearm. He looked at and saw a small, shallow cut, the kind of cut one might get from a shaving accident, but made no sense since he hadn't shaved his forearms. Examining himself further, he found several small cuts and abrasions on both arms, his chest, and belly. He racked his brain trying to figure out where the injuries could have come from. It wasn't like he had a dangerous job. It was pretty hard to hurt yourself sitting in front of a computer all day. The kids had begged him to play Tickle Monster after lunch, and he had obliged. But it was like the kids wore anything sharp or dangerous. Of course, deep down, he knew the kids weren't a source of his injuries. The source of his wounds might have come from the source of the high-pitched ringing that was inside his head all day and night. But it was annoying, the ringing was, and the cuts and scrapes were worse. They meant that it was something wanted to hurt him. Something was hurting him. Steve stepped into the steaming shower. The hot shower stung his cuts and abrasion, and upside of his wounds. But it was as if they were physical evidence that he was having night terrors, as Victoria kept insisting the objects of terror were real. Sleep was not an option, so after a shower, Steve on the living room couch, and not watching TV, not reading, just sitting, waiting for the intruders to make their presence known. For a while, there was nothing. Then he saw a glow of the light and came out, and something opened the refrigerator door in the kitchen. There was a slamming of the kitchen cabinet doors. He got up and ran to the kitchen, ready to face whoever and whatever was making the noise. Avery was standing inside the kitchen sink. The idea of the sight of his own son in the dark kitchen made him uneasy. "Why aren't you in bed, buddy?" Steve asked. He could hear the nervous quaver in his own voice. "Hi, Daddy, I'm thirsty," Avery said. "Here, I'll get you a glass of water, but then you have to go back to bed." "Okay, Daddy." Steve's hand shook as he held a glass under his faucet. Avery looked the glass and sipped from it once, then set it down and toddled back to his room. Maybe Steve was having some type of mental breakdown. The noises heard in the kitchen couldn't possibly have been made by a 2-year-old child, though, could they? Maybe none of the sounds he was hearing was real, but the cuts and scrapes were real, weren't they? He went into the living room and sank down on the couch. Outside, the snow made everything silent, and inside, everyone seemed to be soundly asleep. It would have been peaceful if not so terrifying when the noises started. A scrambling, skittering inside the living room walls. Steve put his hands over his ears. Stop it, he begged, rocking back and forth in some primal attempt to comfort himself. The walls around him pulsated. The hole appeared in the wall nearest to him like a fist and punched through it. But as Steve saw something emerge from the hole, it was not a fist. It was a head of something. It was small but bulbous and veined, with large eyes, almond-shaped like cat-like pupils. It lunged forward from the hole in the wall and parted its jaws to reveal a mouthful of sharp-looking teeth. Its pointed tongue darted out like a snake and stifled in the air. Steve was paralyzed with fear. Only part of him felt like it was moving, his heart hammering in his chest. The creature's tongue shot farther out, impossibly far it seemed. It pierced the skin of Steve's forearm like a hypodermic needle. The pain was intense. Had the thing poisoned him? It looked at his arm as a small red puncture wound. It would bruise easily formating around it. Holding to his injured arm, he ran from the living room down the hall, and the walls of the hallway pulsed too, and another hole appeared. A green serpent-like head poked out of the hole, its scales in metallic green. It held his mouth was puked or a large tangle of snakes. The snakes landed on the floor, undulated their knot, and slithered around Steve's feet. Steve hated snakes. He lifted his feet out in the snake pile and ran to the bedroom. Since the door didn't close or lock properly, he propped the chair against it. The door sat up. Steve, what in the world? Steve was panting. It was hard to find words. They're coming out of the walls, some kind of monsters and aliens or something, and snakes. The hall is full of snakes. And I know it's crazy he sounded, but he knew he was seen. Sit down, Victoria said. Take deep breaths. Steve's breathing was fast and shallow. He sat on the bed and tried to slow things down. Whoa. This is going nuts. You know what's also nuts? The next episode. Because in the next episode, if I can find my marker... Where's my marker? Where'd my marker go? Hold on. Marker. Oh, there it is. Put a check mark on this episode. Next episode is 41 to 58. So we actually have a short episode next one. So that's the crazy part about this, huh? It's not that much shorter, but that's okay. And then after this one, we actually get a second shorter one, which is rare, where we get 62 to 80. So we're having two 18 episodes in a row. Well, technically it's 17, but whatever. I never look at it that way. Anyways, hope you guys are doing a fantastic, wonderful day. Be like, be efficient, make sure to like, comment, and subscribe, and I'll see you guys next time.